So I see Tracy and Kim. Is Jody on? I don't see Jody.
Carol, Jody may be coming a little later. She had to pick her son up. She's going to try to work it out.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
I just didn't want to start without her.
She said she'd catch up.
All right, perfect. All righty, we are right at 1:30, so I am going to get us started. First of all, welcome to everyone. My name is Carol Ciotto. I'm the District Director for Shape America Eastern District. We are very thrilled to have all of you joining us today. We are even more thrilled that we have a few of our Teachers of the Year that will be our panelists. Dave will be introducing them shortly to you, and I think that you're going to find what they have to share is both exciting and definitely going to be useful and relevant to each of you on the call here. Your moderator today that I'm going to turn the floor over to now is Dave Lorenzi. He is the current past president of Shape America Eastern District, and assisting him as monitor of the chat room is Joseph Asmus, who is our student member at large for Shape America Eastern District. So between the two of them, you are in great hands. I will be popping in and out. And so if you have any questions for me, please put those in the chat room. As you can see, I did put my email in there. If you're interested in a certificate of attendance, I'm happy to send you one. And again, just thank you for joining us today. And we do apologize for the glitches for middle and high school if you were not able to get onto those. But each of the sessions are being recorded, so you will have access to those. We will be posting them on our social media for Shape America Eastern District, and I will also be sharing them out to state EDs to post within your states as well. So Dave, take it away.
All right, thank you, Carol. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm really excited. I always look forward to engaging in adapted conversation with like-minded folks and people who have a passion and interest in working with students with disabilities. So I hope you can get a lot out of this session. Basically, the format we're going to follow with this, I have a real brief PowerPoint to share in the beginning with some information that we're going to share on behalf of Shape America. And then we're going to have our toy panel, our Teacher of the Year panel, and I'll introduce those teachers. And we have some directed questions that I'm going to ask them. So you're going to get to hear their experience and in detail some strategies and things that they use. And then the second half of the session, we would like to be more discussion based. So throughout the session, please, if you have any questions, type them in the chat room. And Joseph is going to deal with the questions when we get to that segment of the program, okay? And then I'll just ask that everyone please keep yourself muted until you're going to speak, just to eliminate background noise. And then when we get to the Q&A, do the hand wave, the clap or something, and I'll kind of facilitate the discussion and call on folks so we can keep it orderly and we don't have more than one person talking at a time. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Okay. All right. So the title of our session is called From Surviving to Thriving. And as I said, it's going to feature some of our more recent Shape America Eastern District Adapted Physical Education Teachers of the Year. A couple of resources that I'd like to bring to your attention. And these are all free resources that have been created and disseminated by Shape America, and I'm going to show you what Eastern District has done as well. So on this slide, the links to Shape America's 2020-21 school reentry considerations, K-12 physical education, health education, and physical activity. And this is designed to help guide administrators, staff, and teachers as they prepare an environment for safe and supportive instruction using one of three models of learning. So this will address in-school, face-to-face instruction with physical distancing, COVID considerations in place. It also addresses online or distance learning, virtual learning, and then it addresses hybrid learning, which they define as a combination of in-school instruction with physical distancing and distance learning. So obviously, regardless of what model your school is following, and with the understanding that we're all preparing possibly for one, and we could be thrown a curveball like we all were in the spring and have to quickly adapt. But obviously, schools must continue to offer, high quality health and physical education as part of a well-rounded education for all students during this COVID crisis. Along with the document I just referenced, they created a workbook companion to go along with the document. And in the workbook, it has strategies related to equity, inclusion, accessibility, social and emotional learning, trauma-sensitive learning environments, and student assessment. So there's a workbook to accompany the previous document. As you create activities, lessons, and units for your classes, it's important to keep equity, inclusion, and accessibility, student emotional learning, and a trauma-sensitive learning environment at the forefront. Adapting or creating new routines or classroom management procedures that incorporate the above concepts are great beginning steps to help your students prepare for learning. Conducting an at-home student survey can help you learn more about your students and their home environment, which is especially important during this time of COVID-19. The survey can be the first step in building a meaningful relationship with your students. The survey template is intended as a starting point for you. You can customize the survey to best suit your situation and age of your students. And in some cases, parents may be the ones completing the surveys for their children. And then you can, as I said, use the information to help guide you in developing your units, lessons, and learning experiences. Shape America has also created some practical webinars, and the webinars are additional opportunity to learn more about the Shape America school reentry considerations specific to health and physical education. Numerous teachers in the field, including Shape America Teachers of the Year, share their plans in these webinars, their plans for teaching health and physical education in the fall, and how they'll be using best practices to teach and assess their students. So that's also an additional resource available to you. And then finally, those of us in the Eastern District recently created and released a COVID-19 pandemic guidance document for health, physical education, and physical activity. And again, this document's intended to provide administrators, teachers, staff, parents, and community members with critical information, statistics, and resources regarding the importance of maintaining health and physical education as part of a well-rounded education, regardless of the teaching environment, whether it's in person, hybrid, and/or virtual. So we have put this out on our social media. The state executive directors have it as well. And there are specific links in this Eastern District document related to each state in our district. So you can find state guidelines as well. So hopefully between the resources that are available at the national level, at the district level, and at your state and local level, these can all be used to help you to prepare for your fall teaching. Okay. So that's the introduction that I needed to make. Let me stop share. Well, I forgot. There was one more slide. I'll just do it verbally to introduce our Adapted Physical Education Teachers of the Year that we have on the call that'll be part of our panel. So first we have, you know what, I'm gonna need. So we have Tracy Charlo from New York, and Tracy received the Adapted Physical Education.
Hi, Stacy. This is Murphee Hayes. I'm the athletic director at Winnie Point Central School District. I'm supposed to attend the DASA training tomorrow, but I keep getting an incomplete registration notice and wondered if you can help me. You can reach us here at 607-692-8245, and I'll send the
Hey,
email
you can
maybe
mute her.
electronically. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You can find her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. It's trying to manage this. It's fluid. Okay.
Yeah.
Back to Tracy's introduction. So Tracy was the 2016 Eastern District Shape America Teacher of the Year in Adapted Physical Education, and also was recognized as the Shape America National Adapted Physical Education Teacher of the Year. So we're glad to have Tracy with us.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here.
And then we have Kim, and Kim, please correct me if I mispronounce your last name. Catafalma?
No, that's right.
I did it. Okay, great.
Or
All
Kim
right.
Cat.
And Kim is from New Jersey, and she was the 2015 recipient of the Eastern District Adapted Physical Education Teacher of the Year. And then it's my understanding that Jody might be joining us. Jody's here. Hi, Jody.
I made it.
You know, Jody was the 2018 Shape America Eastern District Adapted Physical Education Teacher of the Year from the state of Maryland. And I also want to acknowledge Brad Wiener. I don't think he's able to be on the call, but it's my understanding he met with our panel and contributed. So I just want to recognize that he wanted to be a part of it. Brad was the 2013 Eastern District Shape America Adapted Physical Education Teacher of the Year from Maryland as well. So we're really pleased to have these folks here to lend their experiences and expertise with us today. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in and get started with
Hi,
the
Susan.
questions.
This is Murphee Hayes. I was here this morning to talk to Dr. Mace, and
Okay. All right. And the first question that we asked our panel, can you share what your experiences were like this past spring teaching remotely? Specifically, what did you find that worked well for you? What did you find to be most challenging? And what would you do differently if you have to once again teach virtually in the upcoming school year? So I'll open that up to the panel. Who would like to take that one first?
I can.
Okay, Jody, go ahead.
Get it going. I'm looking at my notes, so that's what, what I'm looking down. It was really hard in my district. It was really hard. So a little insight into what I do. I work in a public separate day school. So students age 3 to 21 with significantly impacting differences. So from significant behavior and autism to orthopedic and medical fragility. So we did asynchronous learning for the most part last semester, basically what it turned out to be. And I think that worked a little bit because it allowed for parents to get on when they needed. And I continued that through ESY. It was challenging to get people to engage. It was challenging to get people to want to do phys ed, maybe after all the other things they're doing. It was challenging when I did have live meets with students who they basically put the camera on and they were sleeping. You know, those were definitely challenges and just trying to get some focus from the families. But I found that if I made my webpage, basically what I did, more engaging and interactive, that helped a lot for me to get people. So I started making those Bitmoji rooms. I also made videos for my school. I did a virtual challenge day, and I got people from across the world in the US to wish my students good luck, including Tim Shriver did it. We reached out to a whole bunch of people. All the county executives came on and did it. We got some different people. We had people in like 5 different countries just for fun to wish them luck. And I found that by doing that and sending that video out, parents watched that and then were curious what it linked to. So then I got some to jump on. So I did things like that. I made a bunch of videos for our students with like, staff, we miss you. And then I would say like, the link is on my phys ed page. So when they wanted to go get it and see it, they would have to go to my page and see that. We are told that we're coming up and going to be doing more synchronous learning. So I'm a little bit more worried about that. The last thing that I would say that worked really well is I thought really outside the box. So for ESY this summer, I taught ESY, which is our extended school year, and I co-taught it with my art teacher. My art teacher would do a lot of work together throughout the year anyways. But we did a lot of like action art. So because we're going to have these long class periods too, it was nice to break it up. So we would do for example, there might've been one that was on colors and they had to find different colors. And then based on the colors they found, they were making their body into the shapes or different exercises. So then they would select blue and do that. We had them making paper airplanes, and she talked about like the history of that and airplanes. And then we talked about the throwing and targets and shooting and different things. So we tried to relate something that was an art and a PE combined, and it really helped take pressure off. And I found that people that weren't into PE but maybe into art, parents got on and did that, and they were inadvertently doing phys ed at the same time. So trying to think outside the box was a great one. And we did a virtual dance party every Friday, and I got about 30 kids every day on, which was different. We just played a DJ just like this. You could see all of you, and we played music and just turned it on, and parents were into it. We had people from central office. So just trying to get engagement, was the struggle, but also some of the things that worked well for me. So no.
Jody, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Tracy or Kim, want to jump in next? Same question.
Sure, I will. I like many times in my career, learned from my mistakes. We all do, I think, and we have to admit that it's okay to make mistakes and just grow from them. But I guess I thought I had it really hard because my administrators did not allow me to have direct time with my students. And then in talking with Jody and in talking with Kim, I've learned that everyone had a hard time with whatever platform that they were given or allowed to do. So I think what I would do differently, I'll tell you what we did. We started a Facebook group page for our students, and that worked really well. My colleague and I worked really hard to come together in 2 days and make as many videos as we could in 2 days so that our kids could see us doing them and we were still a part of their lives, so that upon re-entry into school, we would still have a little bit of a connection with them. I feel that worked really well. And I've heard a lot of other parents say that their kids need to see their teachers' faces and not, more importantly than a video that they share of just anyone doing some kind of physical activity. I think what I learned from this is that I had parents reach out directly to me, and even though I didn't have direct instruction, and then if I were to do it over again, I would ask and I would advocate like I always do. I think I was a little like a deer with in the headlights, where I just kind of froze and just did whatever, I was told to do. But I would advocate because I've always been a big advocate for my program. And I would ask, can I give parents choices? I think it's important to give them the choice to connect. So that's pretty much what I did. And it was like Jody said, it was hard. It was very emotional, especially when you thought about those kids that were in homes that didn't have the greatest home environment. And, my heart was breaking for them every day. Because my philosophy when I teach is to give them the best, 30 minutes or 40 minutes in a day that they're going to have all day. And I wasn't able to do that or have acknowledgement that I did that. So, yeah, it was tough.
All right. Thank you, Tracy. Kim?
unmute myself. Okay. I teach in a school very similar to Jody's, with multiple disabilities from autism all the way up to severe. And I have nurses in my program that are personal nurses. And I also have, see, when we first started, we kind of knew we were leaving. So we had 2 days to prepare. So we got our packets all together for 2 weeks. We did bi-weekly packets for the first 9 weeks. I only did them for the first 5 because I gave out so much information. Plus, I think the printer wanted me to stop giving out home packets because of all the information that I was giving to the parents. We did printable exercise cards or skill cards for dance, drumming, and exercising. I did health, a lot of health, because I also teach health as well as PE. So we took upon ourselves the first few weeks to kind of really delve into SEL and coping strategies, because our kids were missing a lot. A lot of them thought they were in trouble because they couldn't come to school. And a lot of them, they just had to deal with not seeing their friends or seeing, like they couldn't go to basketball practice anymore. Special Olympics was canceled, all these things. So we dove into a lot of activities that had to do with that. We also dove into a lot of teaching with the parents, getting them prepared, because they were now the OTs, the PTs, us, the PE teachers. So it was overwhelming to them in the very beginning. And I felt that as we went along, also into extended school year, it got easy on them, it got easy on us. I co-teached with a lot of the teachers because we were all learning Zoom. We were all learning Google Meets. And we were figuring out little things to do on there to make it even more special. We also, what I also did was I made myself a YouTube playlist, and I'll give you the link when my colleagues return to talk. But I felt that a little bit of a mixture of the kids who they really watching the videos of other people, as well as videos of myself. So I was teaching them how to make the DIY equipment. I was teaching them how to use it. My son, Joey, who's also cerebral palsy, he's 22, he was demonstrating all the stuff that I was making. So he's up on my YouTube playlist too. So I think that was a mixture of all of it together, having PE challenges every 2 weeks, having the playlist, doing cards. My second time around, I got a U camera, and that was a big access. And I think that's what I did differently in the ESU. I got to bring the screen up that I used to have in the gym onto my computer. So it actually made me a little bit easier bringing the games like Fitnopoly and with the cards and all that kind of stuff onto the screen to teach. I am totally out of the box type of teacher. I will take a game and totally adapt it using different equipment and that kind of stuff. So that in my brain, I just kept thinking, all right, I have to teach dance. How am I going to do that? I taught choreography. I taught the history of dance. I taught everything along into my activities. We had to do exercise. So I made fitness games. I made all this other stuff to bring into it. Fitness dice. My kids didn't have their fitness dice, so I sent them something to print out and make a fitness dice. So these are all little things. So I'm going to let my colleagues talk more about it. I'll get back into it. But if anybody has any questions, you can message me.
All right, thank you, Kim. Okay, the next question for the panel. I'd like you to please share 1 or 2 successful teaching strategies that you developed as a result of the past school year experience that you had this past spring. So we'll go back to Jody if you'd like to go first.
Yeah, there were a couple different things. I really found that I tried to use my paras a lot during this. And it was a little bit tricky. So using other people and reaching out, it was a little tricky because some were more energetic and willing to do, but I put it out to the whole school and I asked them to maybe do the dance for one of the YouTube videos. So I was like, hey, play this music and will you do the exercise or the dance to it? Something simple. So they didn't have to come up with anything on their own. So I have, a video of a staff member doing shake break, so that the kids could follow that. Or I was like, hey, will you lead us in these basic exercises that we used to do? And I found that I got more involvement that way because so teacher strategists just getting away from my face, right? So that they saw somebody else and they saw people they hadn't in a while. And I got a lot of good feedback from that, going beyond that. Now, again, and I would call it special celebrity guest appearances, and so I'd say you have to click on the link to go find the celebrity guest. I still continued with like a journal. So at the end of every class period in brick and mortar, they filled out a journal with how many laps they walked, what they did, and if they liked it or not. And I still created a virtual one of those. So it's kind of like a virtual quiz, but not. And it was, what did you do today? Did you like it? And could you upload a picture of it? Things like that. Now, what was difficult is I was not synchronous. So I wasn't directly teaching. So when it came to the strategies, it was a little bit harder. It was more, what can I do online? And I broke down, so I had one web page instead of making 27 different ones. And then you would click on the link that would be like your grade level or your area. And then I also adapted from the Paralympic classifications. I actually got them from the horseback riding one because they were the most kind of common and fit the most different needs. And I had like, if you might have more difficulty with this part of riding, however I worded it, you might be in the blue group. So then people were able to look at my thing and go, okay. I didn't want parents to look and go, well, I can't do that. My child doesn't do that. And just because they don't see the adaptations we do every day. So it was a throwing one. So I was like, click on the blue group, and I would recommend to some parents that, you should really look at the blue section for this, but please open it up to others. So I found like giving a lot of options, which was another thing that was good. So we always had to have multiple options for the week. I found that even with that, a lot weren't done, but then I got more involvement when I did that Bitmoji gymnasium. I think it made it more fun. They liked clicking on the little Miss Jody. They liked doing those different things. It helped them, and it just was a little more intriguing, and it was very user friendly. I don't know if any of you have done one yet with Google Slides. It's awesome. And we don't use Google or Google Classroom in my county. So I kind of worked around that by doing it in there. And then I just you can publish the presentation to the web, and then take that URL and I embedded it into our Canvas system, which is what we use. So I know everybody uses a different system, but you can still do this Bitmoji gym. And I was kind of, I don't know, it's all over the phys ed social media, and I was a little resistant at first, but then I caved and it was the best thing. So I strongly recommend it. And you can have like other coworkers make their Bitmojis of themselves and they send it to you. So I have my art teacher on, and I'm happy to share my ESY one with anybody. I'll put the link in here when we move on. But I think it's just be more engaging. The one thing that I hope continues with virtual, even with the virtual concept, even when we get back into brick and mortar, is I've been able to make different connections with parents that I never would have before. I never would have seen them on this thing. So I did a drop-in every Wednesday. Parents could just drop in and ask any questions or say hi or whatever. I just kept an open link. And it was nice because I met parents I've never met. I got this connection. And I found by doing that, I was able then to get more buy-in to these different things. So it's not really a teaching strategy, but I really recommend connect with your families. I thought I did a pretty good job with it until this. And I realized I hadn't quite done as well as I should. So I liked being in IEP meetings virtually because I normally can't be in IEP meetings because I'm covering the classes while the teacher's, in there. So I want some of these things to continue when it goes. So I've gone long, so I'll pass it on now to Tracy.
Hey, I love everything you're saying, Jody, and you're touching on all the things that, I really found through this journey. And it really was a journey. It was a journey. It was step by step. But I work in an applied behavioral analysis program for kids on the spectrum, is one of my jobs. And then I also work with a life skills program, and I also work with a behavior management needs program. And an additional thing that I do also in my program is that I push in students into Gen PE at the middle school and the elementary school. So I've got a lot going on. And I learned a lot from many different areas. One, I loved being online with my middle school students who are pushed in to the Gen PE program. And I'm going to share one quick statement that happened from one student in his journal, reflective journal. And the PE teacher really ended every class with a mindfulness practice. And this student who has intense attention deficit disorder issues and really outburst because of this, he made a statement that he really enjoyed the mindfulness practice, and that he could see how he could apply it when school started again. He could see how he could find a spot in his classroom and use this mindfulness practice, this this calming mechanism, and it would help him keep his behaviors under control. With that in mind, being that I'm on a special ed team, I emailed everyone on the team, so excited to say, hey, look what's going on. And it was a great advocating for our profession as well as the student and potentially his future, meeting his future needs, so that he was more prepared to meet the demands of his day. So that was one thing with working with the Gen PE teachers that I loved. And then the parent part, we had amazing feedback from our parents, especially with the behavioral component of our programs, the behavior management, in that the parents were always aware of what we do with their students, and they knew the strategies that we used with our management programs, but they never really understood it as well as when they were directly in the classroom setting, home to school or home to home with the teachers. And so I would highly recommend, if I were to go back and do this all over again virtually, that I would really just stick with I have a really strong behavior management program that I use, and I would stick with that and hopefully teach the parents what the program is and advocate for that student to explain to the parent, like Jody said, she had a student that was in bed. Explain to the parent why you're not going to push that student right then, so that they understand. We have to, I think the parents are the key virtually, and developing those relationships is just, irreplaceable. It's perfect. So thank you. Pass it on to Kim.
Unmute. Okay. The things that I found, what was good about, I had the spring to teach at first, and then I had ESY. So I got to actually take what I've done in spring and kind of switch it around for ESY. So now that I'm going into fall, now I could take all those ideas and build upon those. So keep taking what you're doing and just building upon it. Don't try to do everything all at once, because then it becomes overwhelming. And Andy said a great thing from Australia in a last conference I just had. He said that even if you needed to have the kids situate themselves getting back into an unknown environment, because this is going to be way different for them, you can repeat things that you've already done, so they're familiar with it. So you're the familiar. And then they can go into more other learning after you get back in. Give them a safe space first, and then start, branching off onto it. The things that I've changed, like I said, my Hue camera was a big thing. I did PE Jam every Thursday, similar to Jody. I did where my time was split in half. One was physical literacy. So we played games like Pictionary and Family Feud and did all that. So we brought in all the rules from the sports. We brought in all the sportsmanship concepts, the fitness concepts, and we did it through literacy. We also did, then we went into dance would be the next one. We even got them into choreographing their own dances. We also did a lot of virtual field trips. So we went on we did canoeing and swimming and hiking, and we did all of those things which are all on my YouTube playlist. But we did all of those things because they were missing out in their summer vacation. They were missing out on things. So we brought it to them. So anything that they wanted to do, we tried to find a way to make it normalized. And we tried to bring it to them through our activities. So I thought that that was very important for the kids and the parents and all. And what was nice is that, like Jody said, the parents started seeing what we were doing. And the parents started seeing that it was okay for some of the things that they were feeling too. It's important to make your parents who are helping you out, because believe me, there were some parents that, you know, due to their own businesses or their other children, they had to just, you know, my student was just in front of me getting the social end of it, not more the physical end of it. But I would make sure that I said, hey, look at that. Mom is doing a great job. Look at mom's getting a workout with us. Encourage your parents, I say to my students, hey, let your sister come on in, tell her to come dance with us. Encourage them to come fitness, because you're telling them that to work out as a family is a great thing. And so that I also did a lot of. So I got to the point where I was having more people. My principal commented that I had more people in PE Jam than the teachers were getting in their regular classes. So it really, really made me feel good. And they had the socialization of seeing their peers from the other side. Because let's face it, even when they go back, that socialization is not there. They're not going to be allowed out of their classrooms. They're not going to be going to the lunchrooms. They're not socializing. So we're giving them those opportunities by doing those little extra things. And I just think that if you eat, I know it's hard for us because we're adaptive PE teachers, but we can take things from Pete, Captain Pete. I have all his cards and stuff, and I just constantly cut and paste and put things over it and add the Spanish version to it. And I'm constantly talking to him to like change it. He got us wheelchairs out there for those skill cards. And, you know, even Mike Crincoli's, all his little, exercises. All I did was I cut and paste a wheelchair exercise in the middle of his card, you know, and then I played bingo with it. And I played, the fitness games with it. So we could take their stuff and then just rearrange it. I apologize. I can't remember the girl's name. I do have it in my my resources though. She took Pete's wheelchair cards and she made a video of herself. The card is next to it for the ambulatory person, and she herself was in the wheelchair next to it, doing a video of her acting out that activity in the wheelchair. So that gave me the idea. So like, in my next set of videos is me going to be in Joey's wheelchair, and I'm going to be doing a lot of the dances in the wheelchair so the kids see me instead of, trying to adapt it and all. So I just hope, think outside the box. That's all ESU told me that. Gene White can attest to that. Thinking outside the box, we're the adapted teachers. It's us that are adapting. And we're constantly, constantly adapting. So, anybody else?
Great. Thank you, Toys. Well done. Next question. So this is related to returning to school this fall and teaching. And we're going to ask you what strategies you're planning on using with regards to teaching in a traditional or a non-traditional health and PE setting, in terms of changes as a result of the COVID situation, social distancing, safety, sanitizing equipment, classroom management, instructional content, assessing student learning. So basically any changes as a result of the COVID and the modifications that need to be made. So Jody, would you like to start us with that one?
I can, but it's a little tricky because I'm virtual through February.
Okay.
Already. So I can tell you some ideas, but we are not going back. Our whole county is not right now. There's some discussion about small groups for special ed and IEPs. I struggle with it. My school would be very, very difficult to follow any of the guidelines appropriately. You know, when we were talking the other day, I was thinking how I'd love to do a lot of yoga and a lot of those things. However, my students need hand over hand and physical guidance for a lot of the yoga. So they're still breaking that. You know, different things like that with the equipment. But I think I think I would go the route, and this may happen in February when we go back. I think I'd go a really big route of social emotional learning and health aspects. I think that I would take a piece of that, do some of the cognitive sides, show different things, maybe try to come up with some different dances. At my school, we're not going to be able to be hands off no matter what. So we're changing students. We're dealing with behaviors. We're in, you know, sadly restraints here and there. So I think that when I go back, well, it'll be a lot of sanitizing and really minimizing equipment. You know, I wouldn't use the porous balls. I wouldn't use foamy things. I'd go into things that could easily be wiped down. But the truth is, when we go back, I'm going to be hands-on. You know, and while we'll try to avoid it as much as possible, which is where I would go a lot of with the mindfulness. I got really into, I did some guided meditation and sensory with my students last year. And it was one of the coolest things I ever did. And like how I saw different students' bodies just calm down or focus. And that was a completely hands off. You know, we listened to different guided meditation things. We played sensory videos up top. I got these things called Indo boards, I think they were. They're like balance boards for yoga. So students just sitting on those even. So that'd be an easy thing you could put a student on, and then when they're done, wipe it off. So I do a lot of that, a lot of positioning, since we're going to be carrying and touching anyways. But then it's, you know, between kids, I could do a lot of cleaning. I assume we'd probably be going into their classrooms and specifically for the students that are more medically fragile. You know, and I sometimes think, you know, some of the outside the box things I was thinking is going more semesterly as opposed to full year. So maybe they'd be in PE for a semester, because then you'd only be seeing half the kids, while the other half maybe is in art for the semester, and then you switch. At the second was something that we've talked about with my school, because then I'm not seeing the entire school, the 120 kids every day, or rotating through. Trying to plan my schedule for my students that I might have the most worry or fear with medical needs or being susceptible or immunocompromised first thing in the morning, as opposed to later on in the day, just because if we're trying to keep it so that it can be freshly cleaned and sanitized from the night before, going through that and then trying to have bigger blocks of time in between classes. Because right now I don't have blocks of time. You know, my schedule was one class came in, the next one went. But even if it meant shortening classes to little bits, I'd rather have 20-minute classes with 10 between so I could clean. And I know I'm losing time with the students, but I'd feel like I need to be safer that way. But we think about it all the time. It's going to be interesting for us to go back, and I'm sure a lot of you, since it's the adaptive world, I would say 90% of my students, probably 99% probably would not or could not wear a mask. It just isn't going to happen, and it wouldn't be feasible to ask. I mean, we're talking kids who don't like their shirts on them sometimes. You know, we're a hands-on school. Like I said, my school has some really significant needs. And a big thing with me, and when I talk about wanting to go back, is I want to be able to be affectionate with my students in a way. You know, they need you, and I don't want to be there. I mean, I have a second grader, and I was like, I don't really want him going to school where he's stuck in a plexiglass thing with, you know, he can't touch, he can't be comforted. So what I would do is try to plan activities that aren't that separate, where they're together, but they're not, where it comes to the guided meditation or showing different yoga videos. So we're together, even if we're not doing, you know, back and forth reciprocal things. Talking about that, iPad games I've done before where everybody has it, we project it, and then we're doing bowling, things like that I can wipe down the screen every time I go. So those would be some things that I would do going back, whether I'm back in February or whenever. We're still going to be doing it. So those are some of my ideas that I've had.
All right. Thank you, Jody. And I do appreciate what Jody said in the beginning. It's everyone's situation is unique in your school setting, the environment you teach in, and what kind of teaching situation we're going to face. So just trying to share some ideas and, you know, some things that may or may not work in your environment. So Tracy, would you like to share?
Sure. I recently retired, so I will not be going back, but I'm very concerned about the teacher who is replacing me, and I plan to mentor him. So what I would be doing would be routine, setting up a routine and teaching those kids what's expected of them, teaching them what social distancing is, teaching my teacher assistants or paraprofessionals what my expectations are of them, because many times we assume that they know what we expect of them. You really have to lay it out. So I would be doing that. I've already thought through with the fact that I would love to team with other providers and do more theme-based activities, sort of like what Jody was talking about with her art teacher. So I would be totally trying to do that. Sanitizing equipment. I'm really lucky in the fact that I work with a lot of kids with behavioral needs. And so I have always, I allow myself, I've advocated through the years to allow 15 minutes in between classes, because we've had certain time periods where we have students who, act out, and they're still acting out when the next class wants to come in. And my belief is a lot of that is anxiety induced, that because the teachers know they have to get out of there and we have a boom, boom, back to back classrooms, kids read the anxiety, and they react to that. So I feel strongly about giving the kids, the students, the space to go through their emotional process so that they can be prepared to go back to the classroom. I would highly recommend that teachers try to advocate for that. I feel it's really important. I definitely, if I were going to be going virtual, I would be doing that Bitmoji classroom. I think that's amazing, really awesome. And the YouTube videos like Kim has suggested. I love that too. But once again, sticking to that classroom management, like, clear, concise directions and predictable, consistent lesson plans, and a consistent and predictable behavior management program. And, and then the equipment, definitely I would be starting with no equipment, none whatsoever. I would be focusing on activities to connect with the students. And I think you can really connect through yoga, really connect through dance, a lot of mirroring activities with my younger kids. So when I do this, you do this, and then tapping into like crossing the midline to help throughout their educational day, and other topics that are really important, so that we become more of a team with our teaching team. And a lot of body weight exercises too, just making sure they have a home base and they know where that home base is. And then I would also plan for the unexpected, being that we have kids who elope or take off and run. Make sure you're going to place them in a placement that is conducive to what their possible reactions are going to be. We have kids who are very socially anxious, and that's going to be even more evident going back to school with having to deal with all this. So place those students where they can leave the classroom and have a plan for how they'll leave the classroom, and what is the safest way, and have your whole team on board. And then once again, I would love to just keep that, learn from my mistakes and keep working on that home to school relationship. And because at some point, we're probably, even if we start in the classroom, we're going to have to return home. So we want to plan for that as well. And advocate, just keep advocating for your program and the importance of your program, and make statements in your classroom so your teacher assistants or paraprofessionals leave with that knowledge. This is a great time for us to advocate, and it's really, really important.
All right, thank you, Tracy. Kim, would you like to share?
Okay, hi. All right, so my last week of ESY right now, because we've already had our meeting about what we're going to do in September, I was kind of preparing the kids socially, emotionally on how to go back. So we did a acts of kindness where we did a PowerPoint for the kids and they were making all the health guidelines decisions. They were making, the parents took pictures of them. They sent it to me. We made a whole slideshow out of it. And the kids were making a point, like I had a bunch of them wear their mask, one wore their shield. So we showed the teachers and the staff and the therapists the importance of doing all that. We also showed them pictures of people who are going to be in gloves, shields, coats, masks, the whole works, like I was coming out of the NICU. Because that they may see that too. So I don't want them to walk into the school saying, oh my God, this is like a horror movie. At the same time, they might even not think it's a horror movie, but they might have a flashback to the hospital themselves. So we have to take all that into consideration. I have a unique situation when we come back for September, because of the fact that some kids are coming back to school and getting their services. Some are undecided still. They'll find out this week. And then some are virtual. So they decided not to come back at all. Due to CDC work guidelines, I also will be virtual. So I will be going, sorry about that. My mail is here. So I will be going virtual. So I will be teaching through Zoom. Okay, so welcome to the Jetsons era. So I will be, my facilitator will be one of the transition teachers or staff, and they're going to come in and be my body. Okay, so they're going to make sure that the kids are all situated. The kids are active, they get their equipment if they need it, do whatever they need to do. I will be Zooming in the lesson. If it's a beautiful day out and they decide we're the only ones who can go outside, us and the PTs, then what we'll do is she'll just go off. She won't carry me around on the iPad. She'll go off and be my substitute outside. But what we're planning on doing is, like Tracy said, no equipment in the very beginning. Let's see how it all goes. Let the kids get situated. We're also going to have the kids start working on their personal goals, which are part of our objectives. And once they make their personal goals too with me, then I'll be able to make their PE individual pack, which will be in little packs in a big giant bin in their classroom that they can take outside with them, or they can take in their classroom with them. So I'll be laminating targets. I'll be laminating personal workouts, Tabatas. And depending on who that student is, we'll get that in their packet. Also, I will be doing where the nurses will have to help me out, or my personal person will have to help me out. But like Tracy was saying, yoga and dance and exercising, those will all continue like I've been doing through the innovative things that I will have made. Shortening times, like Jody said, I've already talked to my administration about that. Who's responsible to clean the PE packs? Who's responsible to get all that done? We have a great maintenance staff that cleans everything. We usually take everything at the end of the day in a bin, and it gets placed outside the classroom, and it gets sprayed. They look like the Star Wars characters with the white gun cleaning everything and stuff. But in the gym, we have the table spread out. So the equipment for that my person will be using will be spread out and sprayed. If it's in the PE packs, depending on what they did that day, will be sprayed automatically, or will be put back into it if we didn't use it. The teacher will go from classroom to classroom with my wagon. We are the only staff member, except for the PTs, who go to the door. The child comes out and they go off to their individual session. My sessions are with the whole class. So I'm going from classroom to classroom to classroom, germs to germs to germs. So therefore, everything will be changed. I will get, the person who's with me will get 5 gowns, 5 shape, like the face shields, the 5 masks, if they choose to change into them each time they go into that next class period. There is lunch in the classrooms. So there's PE recess. A recess will be determined on how they're going to do that safely. No classrooms will be outside with me, so I don't have to worry about interaction with them. And they also said about shutting down part of my, the concrete area of my, I'm sorry, I have lost a chain of thought. The driveway, okay, and the parking spots, where I could keep them more secluded. Because as soon as I go in the backyard, it's my playground. So then I make the decision, what's more important? They've just been sitting in their seats almost all day, okay, for my older ones. Is it more important for me to sit there and throw the ball with kids I can't touch and I can't physically help, or let them go on a swing and release themselves? Go, let them walk up and down if they can get onto the slide. That's more important. So if I can get my facilitator to do those kind of things, and then I also have the individual packs, whoever needs to work on stuff, I'm all for that. So if anybody else has any suggestions for me and my Jetson style of teaching, let me know. And all. But you know what? We're adaptable. And, you know, we just have to keep making it positive. The more we're positive, the more they're positive. When we show them that we understand how they feel, they'll be able to accept their feelings too. So the more don't hold it in, you know, let the kids know and stuff. So once the kids understand that I'm home too, it becomes a little bit more human and all. But all right, that's all I have. Thanks.
Great stuff. Thanks again. I have one final question for the toy panel, and then we're going to open it up for discussion. And toys, we might have already addressed this in one of the 3 previous questions. And if you don't have anything new to add, that's okay. Or if you want to mention something that we haven't talked about yet or share something. So the last question I've been instructed to ask is, can you please share a few ideas for content / activities that you have planned for the fall due to the COVID situation you'll be facing? So I kind of feel like some of you have already talked about that. If you have something else to add to that, or if you want to go in a different direction and share something, or throw out a question that we can start discussing, any and all will be accepted. Jody?
Yeah, one of the big things, like I said, that I'm really going to do is try to continue with the collaboration with the art teacher. We've been doing it in person actually for the past 3 years. We hold 1 class period a week. That's action art anyways. So we're going to continue with that. It really breaks it up. It's nice. It adds something different. One of the struggles is going to be finding out what they want us to do when it comes to goals and objectives, because I'm sure a lot of people are thinking that, being all virtual. And instead of having a class, are they going to let me have like a small group? All right, I got 5 kids working on throwing. Like maybe I can have them all in the same virtual class where I can show different things, but let's be real, they're all at a different place. I don't know. Oh, thanks, Tracy. We've been between action art and art in motion. The problem is and I'll deviate here, I told my art teacher we need to change the name because it's too art focused and not enough PE. But you know, doing some of those things have been really cool. It's been neat. We were just planning on trying to take over like the tech ed room too in our school and work on like creating pieces of work and sanding them and turning in old like PE equipment into art and stuff. And we were going to talk about our muscles and sanding and doing different things. So I think I'm going to try to bring about a lot of different real life things into what I'm doing this year. I don't know what the goals and objective, how it's going to work. Last year, they did not put phys ed on the continuity of learning plans, which was like going through and they picked which goals and objectives throughout the kids' IEP that they thought were going to be easily able to be done at home. Now, a lot my county did. My school personally didn't. And it was one of those double-edged swords that I didn't speak up too loud about till I figured out how it was going to work. But I didn't want to be pushed to the side, but it allowed me to have some flexibility in finding out how would this work when it happens. So this upcoming year, I'm sure it'll be back on, but I don't know virtually how with the phys ed, because a lot of my goals and objectives are with physical guidance or with specific things at the school. So I'm trying to figure out that. We were just told that we can start coming up with some ideas for equipment that we might be able to give to students at home. So I'm starting a process and I'm trying to think like, what little things could I use for a whole lot of different things? Get everybody some sort of ball, because not everybody has that. I'm going to look at scarves, things like that, some different simple things. But it's hard because, again, like, am I going to be able to individualize 20 different packs or not? And then I had fun doing, like, make it fun, have like the toilet paper Olympics. You know, I did a lot of toilet paper activities. I did a bunch of, I had families saving their toilet paper things and we turned them into bowling. With my art teacher, one of our activities we did, if you look at what I put up, was designing their own bowling pins. And we talked about the history of bowling and the bowling pins and how it works. And then we went into how to do the bowling. I'm going to do putt-putt golf where they have to create their own course at home. So whatever things they can find, whether it be laying pillows off along the side, whether it be cardboard boxes, and then find a wooden spoon and try to push the ball towards your goal. So I'm going to try to do things where it can hopefully like engage the family too. I mean, as simple as, you know, my son's teacher did a fort building thing and they had to build a fort in their house. And for every piece of equipment, for everything they used to build their fort, they had to do a different exercise. So something that could like get the family kind of engaged like that. I'm going to try to think. I did do a survey and I would recommend for anyone that I had, it was really cool. I did a Google Doc survey and I asked people, and I can share it, like what kind of space they have. So I had like a section where it was like, do you have 10 feet of clear space? You don't have that. Do you have other people in the household to do activities with? Do you have any of these sports equipments at home? Do you have outside space you can go to easily or not? Because I mean, I have a student who they have a lot of hard time getting her down the stairs from her wheelchair. So to do it's not going to happen often because they don't have a ramp. So they're not going to really go outside right now, or a safe place. So I asked about yards, safe places. So it gave me really good feedback from my parents about what they're working with at home. You know, find out who has a ball or doesn't have a ball, who has these different things, but then try to think outside the box. You know, like I said, we're going to do our own putt-putt golf holes. We're going to do maybe like a Where's Waldo search. I'm going to do a lot of scavenger hunts with my family. So I'm going to do a lot of, you know, I did an indoor one and an outdoor one for this summer, and a lot of, you know, try to find something that's up high and reach to it, or find something that's blue. And when you find the blue area, you're going to do burpees, you know, whatever it was with a B or whatever. So trying to do things like that, because that allows for a lot of different ways. And you can even be like, all right, stand in your room. I want you to make 2 left turns and a right turn, and talk about directionality and spatial awareness. Were you able to do that without running into something? How'd you go around it? So I'm going to bring in different things like that, navigating areas. So a lot of things that I'm going to try to make it fun for the families, because the truth is they're going to have to help me. I have like maybe 2 students who I could synchronously teach, who would be able to follow any directions I get. One student probably that would actually be able to follow my instructions, giving it to them. So I need to come up with things. I'm trying to come up with things that could be really fun for families. Maybe something that siblings could do together. I don't know. One activity I was doing is, you know, clean up your backyard. But instead of that, I asked them to crumple up a whole bunch of paper. So they were using their muscles, and we talked about making it small and then blowing it and pushing it back and forth across the table. And for my students, they can't move like that. I said, if you have a hair dryer, to help them hold it and blow it while the other person's trying to push them back to you, and you're pushing back and having like a battle. So things that could just try to make it more fun. I have a lot of asynchronous ideas. I don't have as many synchronous ideas just because it's going to be tricky with how they do our classes. I think I'm supposed to be like live teaching each class for an hour. So we'll find out. That's where I'm doing the combo with art. So we can do like an art intro lesson and then slide it into the PE part, and we can kind of do some flipping that way. Hopefully my music teacher maybe wants to do something. Maybe the media teacher, I want to do like, we'll read a book. My art teacher and I do a book that's like an over under, how many things can you find? And we're going to put it out there to see if they can, you know, find these different things and go under and do a lot of prepositional stuff. And then maybe try to recreate the picture. I was thinking too, like, can you recreate this famous scene in baseball with whatever you can find in your house? So those kinds of things are things that I'm going to be doing this upcoming year.
All right, great stuff, Jody. Hopefully there won't be another run on toilet paper, so you can do that toilet paper Olympics. Might interfere with it. You never know. All right, Tracy.
Okay. As I've stated before, I've become very routine oriented with my students, with my lesson plans, and everything I do is very predictable for them and consistent, especially when thinking of my students who are on the spectrum. I also do a lot of data collection, and most of the data collection that I take is more of a holistic method where I am assessing or taking data on social emotional, personal and social responsibility based, standard 4 based, ideas and or pro-social skills. And I think that I would definitely, I've heard from a lot of PE teachers, there's quite a few that are afraid that all the work they've done to get their kids in an inclusion-based program is going to be really tough now because of the potential for their students not following the safety protocols. So I would definitely create some kind of rubric that has to do with social distancing and, all these new rules that the kids have to follow. Things like I can safely go to my home base. I can stay in my home base. I can treat my equipment with respect. I can wash or wash my hands or use hand sanitizer independently. I can remember to bring my water bottle to class, and then just self-reflect on how did I do? How did I do in class today? I did, great or not great. I have to work on things. I would probably use emoji type symbols because it's really simple for all kids to process that information. The other thing that I did that I will continue doing is we had a lot of Zoom meetings with our staff members, and the feedback that I received was that many of them were suffering physically as well as emotionally. Their neck was hurting, their shoulders were stiff, their hips hurt. So I came up with some staff wellness videos that were very, very well accepted by them and liked. And I think just as a generalized statement, I think listening to Jody, listening to Kim, and even my own thoughts, and I'm sure other people, we all just really need to step outside that box that we've been living in. We really need to think about the whole child and how we can address the whole child. I have a very strong belief in the fact that if my administration were asked me to go into a classroom, I would do it. And I would do it with such enthusiasm. And it would be one more time I could advocate for our profession, because we all know our kids, we're the favorite subject, right? So we just need to always advocate. If we don't speak up, no one's going to hear us. No one's going to listen to us. It's our job to do that. And and focus on standard 4. That personal and social responsibility, that's going to be really, really important so that our kids can follow these guidelines and not just get stuck on traditional physical education, gross motor skills and all that. We need to focus on standard 4, standard 5, a little bit of standard 3 as well.
All right. Thank you, Tracy. I concur with the advocacy piece. Before we go to Kim, unfortunately, we've received numerous reports of schools using the COVID crisis as an excuse to cut health and physical education. So we still have to be ever vigilant of that. And unfortunately, it's part of our profession that we always have to fight that fight. The math teacher doesn't have the same worry about their subject area getting cut as we constantly seem to face in our profession. But schools are doing a lot of strange things right now. Some teachers have lost their teaching spaces. The gymnasium is being used as a classroom and they're having to modify. So we do have to stay on top of that. Like I said, please use those advocacy resources as needed. So Kim, would you like to wrap up this question with your thoughts?
Okay. Well, what I did, because I am going back in September, doing both, What I did was our state of New Jersey just rewrote our state standards, which I follow. And if anybody from New Jersey, please take a look at them because they're totally different. Not different, but just they're actually just going towards everything that we're talking about today, with the SEL and with lifetime fitness and all that stuff. So that would actually be a very good thing, because it'll help you with your objectives and what you're doing in your classes. Also, what I suggest is I took a look at my calendar. What do I normally teach at this time of the year, and why can't I flip it around? Okay, make it different times. Bring out something that you've never done before, and teach that. Whether they could go up online with you and learn a little rules from the videos, or you can do it mocked while at home. We've already had little bocce tournaments at home using softballs. We didn't actually do it where I was going against you, going against kissing the Polino, but what we did was we made different targets, and whoever got closest to that target, like I did at the state convention, then you would get the points. But we still did the bocce skills. So you can do those kind of things if you're home. If you're in school, you have to see what kind of equipment you can use and how you're going to clean it. Softballs are good because as soon as the kids are all finished, you take a laundry basket and you collect them all, and then you bring them right over to, well, our school has a laundry. Our school has a life skills room. So I could just have them go over there and put them in the wash and dryer and stuff with the bibs and all. But I would start with that. I like Tracy's. I've tried the Bitmojis. I suggest that because it's really good for the kids. I actually do block style because I set it up as if it's my schedule, as if they're going into the gym and they can see, like, that's my fitness, that's my, just straight out to them. I actually put the picture of the dance or the video that we're using, or a picture of it, next to the YouTube link, because that way my kids who can't read sees the visual and they can work it around. That's how my own son, works the iPad. He looks at all the visual icons. Also, on non-PE days, it helps. And if kids aren't getting to your sessions, having all these things, like Jody said, by sending them out to the parents. Starting in ESU, I did an interactive sheet that I sent once a week with all the activities for all the grades and I put them in. So I used it as my lesson plan, and then the parents used it as they can go back and do it. The kids really liked one song or one activity, so they went back and they did it on their own time. And then the parents actually got to see, and some of their siblings were telling me that they liked some of the activities that were on there, so they did them for their own PE class. So that was kind of cool in their journals. Like Jody was talking about with the scavenger hunts, I did this too, with having the kids go out for a scavenger hunt. So the lessons that I was doing that day, they would have something. So if we were doing something with a paddle, I asked them to bring paper towels and a paper plate and a stapler. I asked them to bring a pillow if they had it. Anything that would make a racket. Okay, so that would be in my scavenger hunt. Some parents went to the website and actually made them. I had parents with their noses up to the screen watching my video, my demonstrations of me physically making the equipment. So I asked my administration, if I was to have them make a DIY equipment, could they just put it back in their backpack and take it home? Or could it be a DIY one that they just make it? Like the racket with the paper plates and the paper towel rolls, I'll bring them in, they make them, we use them, and they go in the garbage. So, and they thought I was crazy for going through all that trouble, but you know what? If somebody can play for a little while or do something, it's worth, I don't call it crazy. I call it time consuming, but I don't call it crazy. And so those are the kind of things that you can think about if you are in the the school. And like I would personally, like Tracy said, go slow in the beginning. See what your kids are doing. See who shows up, who's not doing virtual. See who's doing things. Get out a survey, like Jody said, about different things of what they have in the house and what they don't. And also ask them who else is home virtually, so that you know their school. Are they working from home? My husband works from home too, but he's upstairs and he's in meetings all day, so he can't even help Joey, do things. So those are different things that I would look into if I was going back and going into everything. If anybody I gave you my email. If anybody wants to ask me if any of my virtual things you want me to send them to you, I will. Just ask, I'll send those off. If not, my stuff is on the YouTube. So good luck to everybody. And I'm free during I'll try to get back to you if I can and all, but great resources with Joey and Tracy. So use us if you need. All right. Thank you.
Great stuff, Kim. Thank you. Before we open it up to questions and discussion, just a couple administrative items. Joe, I've been able to monitor the chat as we've gone. If you logged on late, our executive director, Carol Ciotto, shared the information, and we apologize. There were some technical glitches if you tried to log on this morning to some of the earlier sessions. It's my understanding that all of them have been recorded, including this one, and they're going to be shared via social media and sent out to the state executive directors. You can also reach out to Carol directly. She also said to reach out to her if you are in need of an attendance certificate or some sort of documentation for any of these sessions today to use for professional development. I believe her email's in the chat box, probably toward the top. It was one of the first messages posted in there. The one question that came up that I'd like to open the discussion with, and then we can go in any direction that anyone wants to. We have this call scheduled till 3:30. We can use as much of that time as needed. Someone posed a question. We haven't really mentioned much thus far about adapted health. If anyone on the call teaches adapted health or has some experience or would like to share some specific information regarding health for students with special needs.
Well, I'm just starting a new, well, I've been using some of their samples, but I'm just starting the Body Shop and all. It's a curriculum, pre-K all the way up to 8th grade, and then into middle school. And then I also use Choices. It's a magazine from Scholastic, which has a lot of the up-to-date things that are going on magazine-wise when it's going for current events. But with the Body Shop, it covers all the national objectives. But it's also like a storybook type thing with a lot of the activities. And also you could do it virtually. You can get up online because it's online. They give you a classroom where you could put everybody into the classroom. So, I mean, I'm just starting this in September, so I'll let you know how it comes out. But I do like a lot of visual stuff with my kids because they aren't readers. And also, if you're home and you can save up some of your soda bottles and your iced teas and start filling them up with sugar to match your amount of sugar that's in all your different kinds of containers. You can do a lesson in that. You could do a lesson in fats. I can't wait for visual for health because along with some of my other stuff with my colleagues with the transitions, I'm going to cook. I'm going to use my kitchen. Because I used to do in the life skills room with my kids. I'm going to cook. I'm going to make a healthy meal. I'm going to show them that they can, so the parents can be seeing it and I could be seeing it. I'll let them know what my ingredients are beforehand. So if they want to cook alongside me, they can. But I'm going to use those kind of things. I've used them in the past to teach food safety, on how to prepare and prep work, refrigeration safety, all those different kinds of safety things you can tie into your health lessons. So hands-ons is really good for you, even if it's not for them. And then also the same thing, Bicycle safety. I take a lot of my poster boards, my big giant three, tri boards, and I start making big posters on water safety and anything that you can imagine with safety. And then you can read a story and you can do things like that about it. Give them scenarios, put on little plays, use your stuffed animals as puppets for an interaction of social interaction by acting out something in a health topic and all. Use what's going on now as a health topic. These are all part of our objectives. All right, we can get to the other stuff when we're back inside the buildings and stuff, but that's my suggestion. That's what I've been doing. I used a lot of environmental health over the summer and the spring to talk about recycling, and then recycling we use it to do a PE game with and stuff.
All right, good stuff, Kim. Anybody else like to share related to adapted health? Not just the toys, open up to anyone. Okay. Joe, do we have other questions?
I can, for adapted health, I wouldn't mind starting a group, either Facebook or outside of here, to start planning and coming up with a middle school, some kind of lessons to prep online. So if anybody else would like to join me, they can, I can put my email on the chat right now, and anybody else is welcome to join and we can do it together.
That would be great, Michelle. Thank you. Thanks for taking the initiative. All right, Joe.
As of right now, we do not have any other questions that have not already been answered in chat. In addition to the session being recorded and posted, the chat's also going to be posted. So any of the resources that were posted there, you'll be able to look back at.
Okay. I see one, Joe, that someone mentioned, a question from Robert about itinerates, how districts are handling itinerant APE models and positions. Anyone have any information to share related to that?
I know that a little bit about my county with it, but not a lot, but I know that they made individual learning plans for each of their students. And one of the things I saw here is that they're going to be working with in the PE teachers live lessons, I think, but then also providing some separate one-on-one small group instruction on the goals and objectives, I think is what I've seen. So like one-to-one, getting online and working on their goals and objectives is kind of what I've been hearing through my district.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Anything related to itinerant?
I can speak again to the fact that I did work with a Gen PE teacher with a couple different classes that I had, and I just pretty much followed what she did. Last year we weren't really working on goals or anything. It's going to be totally different this year, our expectations as teachers. But I would just check in with my students when, to make sure that they followed through and did their assignments. I got to see virtually like which of my students answered, the reflective questions, etc. And then I could also see their activity logs. So that helped me with connecting with those kids.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Anybody else related to itinerant? All right, I'd like to throw a question out to the whole group then. Similar to what I asked the toys, does anyone have any additional teaching strategies that maybe were different than what the toys mentioned that you'd like to share for the benefit of the group? Teaching strategies, specific activities, COVID modifications, anything related to that, virtual or face-to-face? Not usually the adapted group. We're a chatty bunch. We're usually not shy. Anyone else? Or if I'm missing something, if anyone has a question that you'd like to ask the toys or anyone else, something that we haven't addressed, I just want to make sure you all get what you want out of this session.
I got something.
Okay.
Yep. Hey, Tracy. Good to see you. We followed what I think I first saw an Open Phys Ed, and they had in the spring the very first virtual field day. So I kind of discovered it, sort of getting excited about it like the week that they were starting. So we did our own one a couple weeks later, and I shared it with the other regular phys ed teachers as well as adapted phys ed teachers. And we decided that at my school, that would kind of be a pilot project that we would try this year in the event that we would need something for this coming year, which we do. But it was very cool to get kids interested. And it's a way for you to get yourself in the video or use other people, because we did use some of the Open Phys Ed videos to explain. We had a Bitmoji classroom, which was our field day event. So we used that, and I've heard that mentioned, like Jody was doing Bitmoji classrooms. So it did get kids' interest, but I also feel like it could be changed and made into different themes. Instead of just using it for field days, it could be something for October, Halloween. So it had that kind of appeal to it. And I guess at this point, whether we're in school or not, it could be revised. But I just thought I'd throw that out. And thank you for Open Phys Ed for kind of planting the seed.
All right. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
I can add to the Open also has a new going back to school platform, and it's called PE Now for people if they'd like to check that out. It's very focused on the fact that our students are going to have been through much trauma, so it's a trauma-informed based practice, and just empowering the kids and helping them ease back into the whole routine.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else? Any further questions for our panel or anything you'd like to discuss?
I'm just going to reiterate, just get your families involved, find fun things, do the dance party. All you got to do is play a YouTube stream of music and tell them to jump in. You don't even have to do anything hard. You don't have to label it. I mean, the amount of people I got in that was great. Another big thing I'll say is I have a lot of teachers say nobody shows up to their meets, nobody shows up to their things. Send reminders. I know sometimes it's easier if nobody shows up because then you don't have to do anything. And I hear that a lot from people, but I send reminders every night. Like, don't forget, you can log in to, do a check-in tomorrow. And then I would send it again. And I had a lot of parents say just having the link right there in email was what made it easier. Like, they could just open it, they saw it, they knew. They couldn't keep track of everything. So, sometimes if you're a little persistent, I had kids in ESY jump into just our check-in, and I heard that they hadn't signed in all of the spring semester or their ESY, but they said it was just easy to have their email and have a link right there. So I sent out to people a lot of that. And so I saw people were like, they weren't even on. And then they got on in the dance party, and the dance party gave parents a chance to just kind of put the computer up and walk away if they needed to do whatever they have to do in their house at that moment. Since it's not direct instruction, it's supposed to be fun. Think about it. I mean, I don't know how many of you have a kid at home, but I'm going to be doing a lot of different stuff. And, this allowed parents to kind of play it. And then we just did 30 minutes of it, and they had 30 minutes to go, I don't know, eat a bite of food. I'm sure they're going to be nuts, a lot of our parents. So that was something nice. So I'm going to do more. I think on top of holding classes, we're going to try to do more things like the dance party. Like, I might have a day where it's just get in and follow the yoga videos. Doesn't have to be as much direct or whatever, or a guided meditation day. So not everything's going to be direct, unit by unit, but also just ways to make it fun, ways to make it exciting, and ways to get parents involved and to realize that it's fun what we do. and we can have fun. If this is boring and dry, it's never going to work. So just engage.
Great, Jody. And piggyback on that, I was just talking to one of my neighbors who is a parent of a boy with autism, and he attends a special needs school in our community. And she was so grateful for what the school provided and the stuff they did virtually. And she said it gave him structure in his day. He had designated times he had to log on, or had the opportunity if he chose to participate. She goes, sometimes I'd forget, and he never did. He knew what, 10 a.m. I was going to do this, at 1 p.m. I was going to do this. So they really, provided some different opportunities throughout the day. So, you're going to have some parents who are greatly appreciative for sure.
Dave, I'd just like to piggyback on Jody. What it was helpful, I know a lot of us, and I'm sure Jody did it too, that when we sent out our Zoom links, we do it continuously, so it lasts like every single week. It's every Thursday is one class or something. So what I did was, in that section to the left of my emails, I made myself my own box that said, links to my PE classes. And I put those links over to that side in my emails. So that way, when it came time to, doing that Monday at 10:30 class, I went right to that link. So I didn't have to go through my emails to look for it. And then I can just go over to forward and just forward it, especially because all my students, I had to keep them in the BCC, so no one else saw their addresses and all. So that helped me out. And Jody's absolutely right. There are a lot of parents, even if you send them out for their weekly, if you didn't send them out that morning, it got lost in their emails. We had a lot of students who made their own email account because their parents were overwhelmed with everything coming from the PTs, the OTs, and me and the teacher. So they made their student had their own email account. But I would email that parent periodically, weekly, just to give her an update, so she knew what happened. I gave them the choice if they wanted me to do that. So I think that's really important what Jody put out with our parents and stuff. So
Awesome. Thank you. Anything else before we wrap things up, Tracy?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on both Kim and Jody as well. And I love the whole dance idea, especially when you have really, really involved kids of, have no expectations, just have them move, get those good, hormone juices flowing. And that's going to bring happiness, and it's going to bring family togetherness. And we need to really just, focus on trying to get the parents to buy into physical activity and physical education as well. And that's a great way to do it. Nothing better than a good old dance party and the attitude, you just can't get it wrong, right?
All right. Anything else? I think the panel mentioned that, this is a great time for advocacy and helping to educate the parents. We have the opportunity to interact with the parents maybe more than we normally would. I'd just like to make a few closing comments. I encourage everyone, if you haven't been monitoring the chat, to look in there. There's a lot of great resources. As Joe said, it's going to be available, but if there's anything you want to download links and cut and paste and pull stuff out of there now before we close. I really want to thank, first of all, our panel, Jody, Tracy, and Kim. Great stuff. I appreciate you taking the time to share with us and be with us today. I would encourage everyone, if you have an opportunity to see any of these women present at a conference, if and when we ever have a face-to-face conference again, I've had the opportunity, and it's great, very dynamic, great stuff. And I'm going to include Brad in that as well. Brad, as I said, couldn't be here. Brad is a great presenter. He does some great stuff. So I'd like to thank, but I'd also like to acknowledge everyone on this call. I work in higher ed. I train future professionals. Dr. White's here from East Stroudsburg as well, and he put something in the chat box. And we both picked up a lot of information. I know, speaking for myself, I feel obligated now to include virtual teaching now in my class. I didn't do much, pre-COVID with that with my students, but it's a reality of teaching today. So, our student teachers that were out in the spring got thrust into it just like you all did, and the ones going out this fall are going to have to deal with whatever comes their way. So I need to be, better prepared to help prepare my students to face that reality. But I really want to acknowledge the work that all of you do. It's tough. Your job's hard on a good day, and the COVID stuff is just making it more challenging. But I've been around the adapted world long enough, and the adapted folks, if anyone is able to adapt and modify and overcome, it's you folks. The thinking outside the box and the creativity and the sharing of resources. So I applaud you, and I wish everyone all the best heading into the unknown of the fall, and how this is going to unfold and how long this situation is going to last. But like I said, I try to take the positive out of it. It's forced us all out of our comfort zone, probably to some degree, and maybe engage. Teachers are engaging more in professional development and sharing of resources. So that can only be a positive for our students. So I applaud the work you do, and I thank you for taking the time to be a part of this discussion today. Anyone else with any closing comments before we end the call? Okay. Thanks, folks. Thank you for participating. Good luck. Feel free to email the toys. They've all shared their contact information if you want to dialogue individually with them further or share resources. All right. Best wishes, everyone, for a successful school year. Thank you. Joe, thank you.
No problem. I'm just making sure that I get all the chat in.
Did I miss anything in there? I hope I didn't.
I don't think so.
I was trying to keep up with it, if every time something new popped up, I didn't want to miss any questions or anything.
It was really good though, because there was like questions being asked, and then almost immediately there was some sort of resource being brought up, which was happening in our other it at least happened in the elementary one this morning too, where someone would ask a question, about 5 different people would come up for resource from Open, YouTube, Twitter. So that's always good.
Good. I thought there might be more discussion, but people might be zoomed out if they were in multiple calls
Very
today.
true.
It's getting later in the day. They might have had enough computer time, staring at the screen.
Exactly.
Jody, Kim, Tracy, outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I
Great
just
stuff.
wanted to let you know that I offered to Jean White and any of you in the upper ed. I would be more than happy to connect with your students if you need, some kind of connection. I'm retired now. I've got a lot of time.
Right.
And I got a big heart for what I've done all these years, and I'm going to miss it. So,
well, I may take you up on that offer now that I'm more adept at Zoom myself, as far as being able to Zoom in like a guest. So maybe I'll schedule in like some, especially the virtual stuff. Like I said, it's kind of new, a bit of new territory for me. My knowledge was always, in our profession, we always kind of poo-pooed when we heard about PE being taught online, right? We all just kind of, then it's thrust upon all of us, right? We all became online PE teachers, so we had to deal with it. But I appreciate that, Tracy. I'm planning my course now. I just found out we're virtual, so it's really weird. We're bringing freshmen on campus, but not upperclassmen. So my adapted class is generally like a junior, senior level class. So it's going to be entirely virtual. And I was like Gene, I had a hands-on component in my university where we brought kids on, and I'm not allowed to do that. So I have to substitute, what their practicum would have been with videos and stuff like that. So
I have a adapt. I have an intern. I have a student teacher intern. I don't know how that's going to go this year. They must be lucky. So I've been teaching at Towson and I'm not teaching there this semester. And usually I have one of my own little interns. So they're lucky this year. Whoever signed up this year doesn't have me as their teacher but I just got the email that I have a 3-week intern. I don't know how it's going to work.
I didn't have any student teachers in the spring, so I don't know how that worked. I mean, if they taught together, or if the teacher would assign the student teacher to maybe lead a class, or do just like you would.
That's what I'm thinking, but
well, they would definitely remember the experience.
Right. Yeah. I think they were just grateful that they were able to graduate and it didn't hold them.
Yeah.
Well, Jean's from my alma mater.
Okay.
I'm a warrior.
Very good. Yeah, but great stuff. I really appreciate you taking the time today to be a part of it. Yeah. Anyone else who lingered on the call here have any questions or anything? Anything to add? I think it had to be Zoom fatigue. I never would have guessed this.
I was shocked.
I thought at 3:30 I was going to have to shut it down, and people were still talking. But
I actually tried to get on the elementary and the middle school one, couldn't get on either one. So then I said, forget it. Then I taught. Then I had 3 classes I had to teach.
Yeah, this was our first stab at this, and we threw it together pretty quickly. Within a couple of weeks, Carol came up with the idea. So I guess we learned, Joe, right? We can't run them simultaneously. There was a limit. I think the number of people surprised Carol. I really thought we'd get at least 50 in each one. Would she say 146 for health, and her capacity was 100? And so I think that's why some people got locked out. So it was unfortunate, but as we set it up, I thought it was a great idea to specialize elementary, middle, high school, so people could really zero in on. And obviously, I suggested the adapted. I said, let's do that for folks.
Well, I'm glad you did, because we're sometimes forgotten.
Agreed. Agreed. So at our max, we had 69 in this section. People were popping in and out during the whole call, but at our peak, we were at 69. So. And you figure that's just Eastern District. If you opened it up nationally, I'm sure we would have had even more. So
I think we might have had some others from non-Eastern District, at least in the elementary call. I think someone said that they were from Texas or something.
Okay. Well, there's really no way. I mean, we just advertised it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Advertise it for us. We did it through Eastern District and through the Eastern District states. But it was a great learning experience. So the district's hoping to offer more virtual stuff. If you guys have any ideas for adapted, I'd be glad to take it back to the board. If you think anything, let me know. If there's something virtually we can offer to teachers.
Well, I just wonder sometimes if it would help. A bunch of people, for example, wanted a little training. They wanted to know about the Bitmojis. So I wonder if it would ever be smart to just be hey, we're going to do this. And we've got 3 people that are going to share their screen and show a couple pieces of how you get started. I mean, I know you can YouTube it and do it, and hopefully, but it does help to sometimes see, and somebody can say, so you go into here, you do it. Just little things like that. I think people are still learning, or some people wanted to know how you create a YouTube channel, so just maybe wanted a little 2-hour, a tech one, almost like a thing where you have 15 minutes where somebody just shows how to get started on a Bitmoji room. Somebody shows how to make a video or use this video editing, because there's some really cool video editing things where you can record your screen, or you can do things, or how do you use a green screen? Ross has a huge green screen. If you know Ross Chakri, and he's doing tons, but here's how I make these cool videos, because I see him and I'm how do you do that? And then luckily I'll go Google it, but for a lot. So I wonder if just providing, and it wouldn't just be adapted, but you could have so that you didn't have too many people, the first, try an 8 o'clock session, and then you repeat the same thing at 10 o'clock or something, and you go through and you have, I said, 15 minutes on Bitmoji, or 30, whatever you need, 15 minutes on green screen, 15 minutes on this. Just, I think, even a board maker one, if people didn't know how to do it, there's just some nice, I think tech-wise, more people could use that, and just being able to watch somebody show it.
Yeah, and all the features on Zoom. Yeah. All the different kinds of features on Zoom.
Yeah, the whiteboard, yeah,
everything.
But I think it was pretty cool. I think that it was really important what you said, where you're like, we're not a Google school. We're this, but I wanted in, so I did this. And I think you might get a lot of people go, oh, I just didn't think I could do it.
Right.
I
embedded it into my Canvas.
Yeah. I think that was
I still use
awesome.
Canvas.
Yeah. Thinking outside the box yet again.
Well, we've been doing this, for 5 months, and my students still remind me that I didn't turn on the volume of the video.
Right, your share screen.
We're almost done with an entire dance, and you haven't heard the music.
They were mirroring you.
And because my kids don't speak, if it wasn't for the nurse to tell me we had no volume.
Right, to know that you're sharing with value. It's different. You don't just share it. Or I just learned there's a trick to present your PowerPoint at the same time as being able to see your students without having to do a split screen. Because otherwise, when you went into present mode, you couldn't see your kids. But there are ways to do it, like little tips and tricks. And you could even do like a demo slam like that.
Right.
With like, here's something I learned that was really cool, and give people 5 minutes or less to jump in, because you could do like a little demo slam where you have a chat and everybody's like, I want to go here, I want to go. And the moderator goes, okay, next person up to share their screen or say something they did. Boom.
I love that idea, Jody. Joe and I will take it back to our board. I'm sure Carol will be very receptive. I mean, the district's just finding a way to provide support to our members, which are predominantly K-12 teachers. So I think you're right. The technology it's always a good topic, but it's really relevant right now.
Yeah. And like I said, bringing in Ross does crazy stuff, and all these people are doing really neat things. And I don't know how to, I'm going to order a green screen, but it'd be great to have somebody show me exactly.
Where Ross gets the time to do these things. I ask him all the time.
Children.
I know. That's what I told him. He has no children. He doesn't have a kid with special needs.
Yeah.
I'm lucky I get all the things I get done.
If
I'm retired
with
now.
that,
I don't have time.
We'll reach out to you guys and see who you recommend as presenters. You guys know better than I do of who would be great to present on specific topics.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to get people in. There's some really cool things out there being made.
Yeah. Also, another idea would be, I really liked it when Diane Pinella jumped in. It was really nice to see someone that wasn't on the panel jump in and say something.
Well, I like that.
Just even an open discussion night, how's it going? How you doing? How can we help each other? We're better together,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe people felt intimidated, in front of that many people. People were writing stuff in the chat, but I thought more would do what she did, maybe answer questions that I asked you guys and share about their situation. Because every time I present, there's always people in the audience that, want to share, about their situation, which is great.
Right. I think they might have needed permission to do it though, because they may have felt like time restraints, and I'm not asked permission